Now joined by Prof. Khubisa from the National Freedom Party to tell us a little bit about how he found the State of the Nation address. Sir, good evening and thanks very much for joining us. Your impression of the overall State of the Nation address by the President?
First and foremost, important that we really apologize to the citizens of South Africa for what happened in the House. Really, the decorum and dignity and integrity of the House was compromised. Having said that, I don't think the President dedicated enough to the issue of job creation. Poverty alleviation was supposed to be the main issue. Poverty has risen to the level of 24.5%. He should have dedicated more on ways on how the environment would be created for our country to create jobs, boost the investor confidence. I don't think enough was done with regard to that. Secondly, on the issue of load shedding, energy crisis, even if you give 23 billion to Eskom, parastatals and state agencies are not doing enough. I think we've got to deal with the management. Performance is what is important. Issues of financial management are very important. Issues of education were not dealt with quite profusely. I believe that something has got to be done with regard to higher education. Our youth deserve better. NSFAS is not providing for our children accommodation for the youth. I think a lot was supposed to be said with regard to that. Okay. Corruption was not dealt with quite profusely. Okay. I think the President was supposed to deal with corruption, which is rampant in municipalities where tenders are used by people who are employed in municipalities.
Okay. Sir, thank you very much. That was Prof. Khubisa from the NFP. I'm now joined by the Secretary General of the ANC, Mr. Gwede Mantashe. Sir, I think the correct place to start would be what happened before the President delivered his State of the Nation address.
No, we've been watching the race to the bottom by opposition parties where they are actually outdoing each other, and how can they be as hooligans as possible. And our view is that anarchy will never bring a nation. And I think the firmness in dealing with that situation is highly appreciated.
So you approve of the manner in which the Speaker or the presiding officers handled it?
It was handled to the rule, and that is what is necessary. Rules of Parliament make provision on dealing with those situations, and they were applied today appropriately, and we're comfortable with it.
All right, sir, then can we just quickly move on in general? The speech by the President, is it what you as the ANC were expecting?
It reflects the work that took place. If you follow our January 8 statement, you follow the outcome of the ANC Lekgotla, the outcome of the Cabinet Lekgotla. All that work is captured very well and precisely in the State of the Nation address. Look at the details on energy. Those details give a clear approach to dealing with what is appearing to be a crisis, though we always regarded that as a positive crisis in the sense that it reflects the increase in the number of new connection of households and the growth of the economy without a reciprocal growth of the energy generation. And then the other aspects and other sources of energy were addressed in details. The land question has been addressed in details.
I'd love to continue this conversation, but I must now cross to my colleague, Abra Babia, who's standing by. Thank you very much. That was Gwede Mantashe. Abra?
With me right now, I have the leader of the ACDP, Rev Kenneth Meshoe. Reverend, there's so much to talk about tonight. First things first, impressions of the speech.
Very uninspiring. I almost fell asleep for the first time. I had to go out to get fresh air. People are hopeless in the country. Besides what they saw in the beginning of the sitting, when there was disruptions, when there was chaos, people hoped that the president would give them hope. The issue of load shedding is worrying most South Africans because they are aware that the engineers and the specialists have said there is a possibility of total blackout in the country. We wanted details because the president is aware of what the people are concerned about, but he did not tell us what plans are in place to ensure that that does not happen.
Reverend, I have to ask you, sorry, in terms of what happened earlier, is that something that you were expecting?
Well, we were expecting what happened, that it was going to happen. And I think the presiding officers must take responsibility, because last year already, when some people started coming with overalls in the chambers, I spoke to some of them and said, you need to nip this in the bud. You need to set the rules and enforce the rules. And their response was, they will outgrow this. Now we saw tonight they did not outgrow this, because they got used to getting away with breaking the rules. So the presiding officers must take responsibility firstly for what has happened, because they should have enforced the rules from the beginning.
Reverend Kenneth Meshoe, thank you so much for your time, sir. That was Reverend Meshoe of the ACDP.